Now, the moment that we've all been waiting for. Friends, if you want to speak like a pro, you've got to learn from the pro. We are doubly honored and privileged this evening to have our own club's trainer, distinguished Toastmaster John C. and distinguished Toastmaster Glenn Lim, co-delivering the next segment together. Speak like a pro. Glenn and John are no strangers to us. Glenn is a personal development trainer, leadership consultant. He's also a district and divisional trainer since 2007. He's the founding club sponsor of BIG3 Toastmasters Club. He has been a professional corporate trainer since 2008 and focuses on training coaches and trainers to build their businesses. On the other hand, John is no stranger to us, definitely. Speaking is his passion. Selling and training is his life, and sharing is his forte. Without further ado, please put your hands together and help me welcome the trainers for this evening. Glenn, over to you.
Good evening, good evening. What a great privilege. Both John and myself are here to help equip and uplift firstly, our club members, and also tonight we have guests from outside. So we welcome you here because you can also learn a tip or two from our educational segment. This is not unlike, and it's very uncommon at most of our club meetings, which is held every month, last Wednesday of every month. So every now and then, we do come in and we offer value in terms of the educational segment. Tonight, here is our problem. We only have 30 minutes, both John and myself, to deliver this topic, Speak Like a Pro. So here's how we're going to segmentize our segment. I will be doing it first for 15 minutes. So I just want you to consider how much content we can squeeze into 15 minutes each, and later on John will take over. So if you guys are ready to speak and behave like a pro, well, first let's act professionally here. Let's try to turn on our videos where appropriate, okay, so that we can have the highest interactive value here. So can I ask all of you to just turn on your video? Of course, it must be appropriate. If you're not dressed appropriately, please don't turn on. We don't want that, okay? So we are also going to have some interaction in terms of learning, and I would like to call on some of you here so that you can participate and then get the fullest value. If you're ready, can I have you just all give yourself a thumbs up so that I can see, because I'm watching the screen right here. Cool, cool, cool. And by the way, we have about 8 or 9 people here in this hybrid event as well. Okay, all right. So today, I'm going to anchor on speaking like a pro in terms of communication. And I'm going to show a very common or very well-utilized communication pie chart here. So I'm going to refer to this diagram first. First and foremost, Albert Meridian, who was the developer of this framework, talked about the 3 different types of communication. We call it the 3 V's. And the first V, which is the smallest domain of all of communication, is the verbal domain. Verbal means the message or the content of your speech, only 7%. And then we have the vocal, which is the vocality, the tonality, the volume, the enunciation, the attitude behind the voice. So it's got to do with the tone, right? And then lastly, the biggest domain is actually the visual domain. The appearance, the body language, the movements, the gestures, the eye contact. So I'm going to zoom into this visual element because that occupies the largest domain of all of communication. More than half of all communication is visual communication. I'm going to zoom into the big 3 visual communication strategies. So at the end of this 15 minutes, you're going to take home 3 tips, 3 particular techniques that will give you the biggest impact on your visual communication. And here they are. So it will be hand gestures, facial expressions, and eye contact. Everybody here in this room, please look at me. And those of you on the screen, and let's repeat this, okay? The first one is hand gestures. Let's do this. Hand gestures. Thank you, those on the screen as well. Second one will be facial expression. Let's frame your face. And then third one will be eye contact. Look at someone and say, I'm watching you. Okay, so the big three. Let's get down to business. First one, hand gestures. Hand gestures bring life to speeches. They describe and shape ideas. By the way, from a psychological point of view, the mind, the human brain, your listeners' brains need to see movements before they can start following you. Just like a hunting dog, it senses movements and then it starts following and engaging itself to that. Therefore, you need to move. So hand gestures bring life to your speeches. I'm going to give you 3 very quick techniques for hand gestures. The first one is what we call descriptive hand gestures. They shape ideas and make vivid descriptions. So for example, let me give you an illustration. It was a very cold and dark night, and the thunder was so loud. So can you see my hands describing and adding life to the words that I'm using? Okay. You know, I woke up with such a giddy headache and I was walking like a clumsy duck. So all these help to form and to shape up your ideas so that it is better articulated and communicated and understood. The second type of hand gestures is what I call suggestive hand gestures. They imply an idea in an implicit manner. You're not saying it with your mouth or your words, but just because you shape it or you describe it in a suggestive manner, people get the idea. How many of you know how much professional trainer John C. makes in a month? So lots of money, but I'm not saying it. When he took off his shoes, my God, I'm actually describing how smelly it is without saying it. It is suggestive.
Ben, right, Ben?
I did not say it. John suggested it. The third one is emphatic description or emphatic hand gestures to emphasize a point. And professionals, leaders, even politicians do that a lot, right? We demand for our rights to be heard today. So you are emphasizing, punctuating the keywords. Tomorrow, as an organization, we will make things change. So again, you can either use the pointer of your fingertip or, and it needs to be done appropriately, but you are punctuating and emphasizing. So these are 3 top hand gestures. Let me call on 1 or 2 of you so that we can have a very simple role play. First and foremost, let's try those on the screen. And later on, I'm going to pick someone from the room here. So those of you who are live and your video is on, shall we zoom in on one? I have our Toastmaster the evening to pick one. And once you are spotlighted, please, you don't need to unmute yourself. So can we have, who's that?
Deepa.
Deepa. All right, Deepa, wave your hand. Okay. All you need to communicate to the room here and on Zoom is just to use your hand gestures as I phrase out the statements. Can? So pretend that I'm your voice and I'll be speaking on your behalf. You use your hands. All right? You can use descriptive, suggestive, or emphatic. Let's start. Yesterday, I went to meet my cousin that I've not seen for 5 years. And I met him, he grew so tall with a newborn baby in his arms who looked so tiny beside him. Well done. And I'm guessing if you mute me and just look at Deepa, you will roughly guess what she's talking about. Now, can I have someone, maybe Wendy, can you stand here and come to the front here? And I want all of you to look at her and you can use any of the hand gestures, descriptive, suggestive, or emphatic. Pretend that you are a director of your company addressing your staff. Dear staff, it has come to my attention that we are falling behind in terms of our sales and revenue. We need to get our act together. Okay, everybody give a round. Wendy, you're almost dancing.
Nice.
It is the great LMPs who talk about the persuasive effect. So right now, in the next 1 or 2 minutes, I want to zoom into our default posture or hand gesture. Sometimes you don't need to describe, sometimes you don't need to be emphatic, but just by default, which is about 70% of our time in terms of speaking and communication, where are our hands? Who is this person? Well, we've probably seen him many times during the last 2 years on TV addressing the nation. Do you know where is his default hand gesture placement? Maybe some of you here in the room and those on the screen, on video, can you just show me if you can remember what is our Prime Minister's default hand gesture placement? Is it a palms up, palms down? What is it? You are right. He does this 90% of the time. And if you look at the speeches or in parliamentary addresses, this is his way. It's called the palms up and from the heart. So there is a very sincere gesticulation in the way he addresses, and that's what makes him so likable compared to this other politician. What does this communicate? This is the direct opposite of our Prime Minister. This almost communicates like it's not my fault. Oh, no, I didn't do it. Okay. And how about with this other great leader? He is famous for the finger pointing, which is exceptionally effective during his time and day, which he needed to call for and rally the people. And so a lot of his speeches were very directive, right? So these are the 3 default persuasive effect gestures, which is what we call the palms up, the palms down, and the pointer. Alan Pease, who is a non-verbal communication expert, actually broke it down to a science. And he says the effectiveness can be measured in percentile here. Let's take a look here. So the first one, pointing, or rather the third one, pointing is 28% communication effectiveness. Not very effective, right? The second one, palms down, is about 52%. But the palms up default gesture is 84%. It makes you more inviting, more listenable, and more affable, more approachable. Okay, so take note of this. If you do want to take a snapshot or screenshot, you can do this. Always remember, if you don't know where to place your hands, do it like our Prime Minister, open up, open posture from the heart, gesture from the heart. It communicates a lot of sincerity. Okay, I spent a lot of time on hand gestures. The other 2, I'm going to make it quick. So the next one is facial expressions. Everybody show me your face and do the framing. Yeah, your face. Your face is the canvas of emotions. If you want to communicate emotions, people look at the face, they take the cue and the clues from your facial expressions. It communicates feelings and inner states. So take a look at this picture. What kind of emotional or feeling do you think he is communicating?
I like you.
So this is from a science perspective, it's happiness simply because of some of these points there. Okay. So what I like to do right now is to do what I do in my communications classes. It's called emotional variance exercise. It requires you to flex your facial muscles. So in this room, which is live and on-site, can I ask you to just pair up and look at each other? Yeah, just for this exercise. Okay, so can you all pair up? And if there's odd, you can just do it in triplets. And for those of you who are on Zoom, just face squarely into your camera, because then I can assess you, okay? Those of you who still turn off, maybe now's a good time to turn on so that I can give you some very quick assessment. All right. So I'm going to call out an emotion. And what you need to do is to express that emotion to your partner. And those of you on Zoom, look straight into the camera and express that in 3 seconds. This requires you to form the expression and recall how the emotion looks like on someone's face. Ready? So here's the first emotion. Get ready. Look at each other here in the room. And I'll have a blank face right now. Have a blank face. Neutral. Okay. I want you to express through your face sadness. Go. You shouldn't be smiling. Sadness on the screen? Thomas, is that your default? I can't tell. Okay, very good. Round of applause. The second emotion, get ready. The second emotion, look at each other. Face the screen, I can see you guys. The second emotion is anger. Go.
Your anger
Son,
so
you
friendly.
look very angry. I get scared. Okay, thank you very much. Last one, okay? Okay, face the camera. Joyful, go! I said joyful, not crazy. Okay, thank you very much. And obviously, if we had more time to role play this, you will see that the positive emotions and reception will be reciprocated if you display it first, right? Or you express like a smiling feature, you're joyful, you're happy, it rubs off other people. Anyway, for communication purposes, and if you really want to look pro or professional, your facial expressions communicate the most in terms of emotions. Let's get right down to the third one, and the last one is eye contact. Eye contact. Everybody, please look at me here in the room, and those of you on screen, do this. Eye contact. Eyes are so important because they are the windows of your soul. And particularly during the last 2 years, during the pandemic, some of us, not all, some of us have problem looking into the camera, and for good reason, because we're not used to this technological platform. Right now, with hybrid, it's even worse. We get confused because who do we look at? Those in a room, and then do we disengage ourselves from the camera? So it is a discipline, it is a habit. Now, to be professional in the workplace, it's always trying to look people in the eye, or in a platform, in a public speaking platform, to also lock eye contact with our audience, both in a room and also on Zoom online, because they communicate truth and sincerity. How many of you have ever heard of the phrase or watch a comic strip or something that says, you know, look straight at me in the eye and tell me the truth? Yeah. Because the eyes are the window of your soul. So here's what I like to do as a simple exercise. I'm going to call some of my fellow members here. Maybe Ben, you come up. Ben is a very good speaker, by the way, okay? Yeah. So I would like you to share with them your name and what you do very quickly, but I would like you to practice locking eye contact with at least 4 people in the room here, left, right, maybe behind, for about 2 to 3 seconds each before you move.
Introduce myself.
Introduce, but be very deliberate with your eye contact. Okay?
Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Benjamin, and I'm the club VPE and club treasurer. So what I do behind the scene, I make sure I get a few speakers and a few project evaluator as well the club trainers to be in this house.
Okay, Joe, well done. Everybody, give me a hand. Hang on, come again. Those of you in the room, if you feel that he has made eye contact with you, lock a gaze for 2 to 3 seconds, raise your hands. Okay, so if you take a look in the room here, this is a nice spread of eye contact engagement. Okay, thank you once again. Give it a round of applause. This is what we call an ergonomic eye scan. When you stand in front of a room with the audience that are widely spaced out, you do want to lock gaze with a few selected people who are at the furthest corners and even in front of you, so that you get the north, south, east, west spread of eye contact. Okay. But because we are still using Zoom online, so every now and then you have to face the camera, and you got to be very purposeful in that. Like right now, I got to look at that small little hole there, but I do want to see you guys on the screen. So sometimes I got to go back and forth. Ergonomic eye scan. So once again, these are the 3 big visual communication strategies. Number 1, it is your hand gestures. Number 2, facial expressions. And lastly, number 3, your eye contact. So that concludes my segment of the BIG3 visual communication strategies.